Okay guys, in this video I'm going to talk you through the new Amazon FBA title guidelines. So if you're currently selling on Amazon or you plan to sell on Amazon soon, you need to watch this video, because if your title does not meet FBA policy guidelines, then there's every chance your product will get suppressed in the search results and no one will find you. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to talk you through the changes that have been implemented and also just go over a recap of some of the other rules which have remained the same, and throughout I'll offer my advice on each change. So the first one is the title characters should no longer exceed 200 characters including spaces. Now I think this is a fair change. If you are using more than 200 characters in your listing, I'd recommend trying to shorten it. In my view, if you're over 200 characters, you're probably keyword stuffing, you've got too many keywords, and because of that there's probably some relevancy lost, and you're probably losing out because you're trying to cover too many bases. So your title needs to be more focused so that it's better for the algorithms and also better for the customer. You're also no longer allowed to use promotional phrases such as free shipping and 100% quality guaranteed. Again, I think this is a good change. I've never actually used any of these in my title, but I think it's good that they're being removed. It will help clean up the listings and hopefully make it better for customers in general. The title should also not include any decorative characters. Now, the most common one I see is the bar divider. So people use this a lot to divide titles, and you know what, I actually think it's quite a nice feature, being able to clearly separate groups of keywords. It does make it quite easy to read. However, Amazon have decided they no longer want you to use that character along with a number of other characters as well. So if you've got any of those in your listing, make sure you go through and remove them. And on the next page I'm going to show you an alternative that you can use that is still within guidelines and should be okay. And finally, your listing could be suppressed if your title contains no product identifying information such as hiking boots or umbrella. And that's fairly straightforward. As long as you're describing what your product is in your title, you're going to have no issue. The reason they've introduced this rule is for people that kind of upload thousands of products at a time and don't necessarily check their title. So the title might contain technical information, but they actually forget to mention the product name itself. So that's why they've got that change in there. So if your title kind of breaches any of these guidelines, there is a chance your listing could be suppressed. And what that means is if someone searches for your keyword terms in Amazon, then you will not appear in the search results. So it's very important that your titles adhere to these guidelines. Having said that, these changes came into place on the 6th of September, so about 2 weeks ago, and I still see titles that have got the bar divider and containing containing promotional phrases such as 100% quality guaranteed. So I think it's just a chance of the Amazon catalog is still, or the algorithm, the bots are still catching up, and hopefully they'll get to everyone eventually. So if you're like many other people that are using some of these characters, this is what I would recommend. Amazon still allow you to use these characters. So you can still use hyphens, you can still use commas, and you can still use ampersands, which is really good for saving a few characters to be able to use them on more important words other than and. So I'm using hyphens in place of the bar dividers. I use ampersands a lot and I use commas. I don't generally use forward slashes and I don't generally use the full stops, but the other three I do use. But just to recap, so these are kind of the other rules that we'd recommend. So despite the fact that the overall limit is 200 characters, Amazon recommend 80 characters or fewer. Now, I disagree with this. My products are generally around the 120 to 130 characters in length, and I have no issues ranking, and I think the title is the right sort of length to find that balance between algorithm and customer. That's always what we're trying to find, that balance between. So I would say if you need to shorten your title, don't shorten it to 80, but experiment at different lengths. If 120, 130 still works for you, I would be in that sort of territory. I still think up towards 200 is maybe too long, and potentially 80 is too short, but it depends how strict Amazon get with this. If they start enforcing it, then we'll all have to drop down to under 80, but I don't think that will be the case. Secondly, don't use all caps. Now, it's an obvious one. You don't want to be shouting at your customers. Capitalize the first letter of each word with the exception of prepositions, conjunctions and articles. So basically all the short little words that join the keywords together. So the way I think of it, if I found the keyword phrase through my research, the chances are they're going to be capitalized, and it's only the kind of the fluffy words in the middle that joins it all up which you don't capitalize. Always use numbers or the numerals instead of the character spelling, so use 2 instead of 2. Don't use ASCII language, so no fancy characters. And it's like, for example, if you're trademarked, don't use a little TM or anything like that. It can cause issues. The title should contain the minimum information needed to identify the item and nothing more. That kind of is just covering the point on the previous page about not using promotional text. It should only really describe the product itself. Don't use subjective commentary, which I think is a great one. I've got competitors who use terms such as premium or luxury or the best, and it's just like, that's just purely opinion based, and I'm glad that they're going to crack down on that. Like I said, you can use those characters. Abbreviate measurements. This is a good one because whenever I used to try and use CM in my title, Amazon always tried to get me to write the long version. I don't know why, but they always used to flag up a little red error message. So I'm glad that they're now introducing it, that we use the shorthand for measurements. Don't include your merchant name in the titles. Now, I'm not 100% sure what they're saying with that, because on another page I've read, they are asking you to use your brand name. They tell you to start your title with your brand name. So that's what I'm going to be doing. Size and colour variation should be included in titles for child ASINs, not the main title. So that makes sense. So if you've got a variation, only include it in the child title and not in the parent title. So that is, for me, the overall view of Amazon titles is that you should be writing them for two reasons. One is the algorithm, so you need to capture all of the relevant keywords. But secondly, you also need to remember this title, in addition to your photography, your photography and your title are the two most important parts of your listing. For example, you cannot get ranked without a title, and no one will ever click on your product without a photo. So if you get those two things right, you've got a chance of getting someone from the search results page actually onto your product detail page. So remember, when you're writing the title, your title complements your photo and should help encourage users to click through from the search results page to that detail page. So if you can include maybe your most important USP in the very early part of your title, including obviously your main keywords, but if you can include that USP, what it will do is help you stand out and it will help with that click-through rate. And if you include it too late in your title, because the titles get truncated on your PC or on your mobile phone or your laptop, depending on which device you're viewing it on, you can't always see all of your titles. So by including it in the first part of your title, your customers will, in theory, be able to see your USP all of the time alongside your photo, and hopefully that will help with the click-through rate from the search results to the product detail page. So that's my view on titles. If you'd like to see me do a video covering actually creating a title and how I do the keyword research, let me know in the comments below. And if you're not already registered, head over to FBAelite.com. We're over 220 members within the first 2 weeks, so it's going really well. We've got lots of active threads going on there, and people are finding it extremely helpful for the FBA research and going forward with their FBA plans. So come and join us at FBAelite.com, and I'll see you guys on the forums.